Barbara, I want you to know that I sat down one evening recently and picked up your book, How to Talk with Practically Anybody About Anything, read it cover to cover, didn't put it down once, thoroughly enjoyed it. And, you know, I guess that people would say, well, Bobbie, you and Barbara being in the same business, you would be especially interested in the book, but I think there's something for everybody in that book.
Well, I didn't really write it for interviewers or for professionals. I hope it might help maybe somebody who wants to get into broadcasting as well. But I really wrote it for all of us who are sometimes shy in conversational situations, and there always are times when we are. And I wanted to give an attitude about conversation that would then fit any situation, whether it was the young talking to the old, or that ghastly moment when you walk into a party and don't know anybody, or if you meet a celebrity and you want to get to know him better and you want him to know you. But I'm pleased that you liked it. But it really was not written for you, so there.
Okay. I take back what I said. One of the things, Barbara, that you have it in the book several times, Mrs. McCarthy's quote, Mrs. Eugene McCarthy's quote. I love it, and I just really, paused a moment and thought about it. What a sound piece of advice. Maybe you could quote it for the people.
Well, when I was talking about the book or thinking about it, I said, really what we should try to do in most conversations is to put something in our own line of experience, to ask the questions we're curious about. And this takes a certain amount of self-knowledge and acceptance of yourself. And I remember when I was interviewing Mrs. Eugene McCarthy when her husband was running for the presidency, and it was the only interview she did on television. And I said, aren't you nervous? Doesn't this bother you? The lights, the cameras, and so on. And she said, well, I used to be very nervous. She said, but then I said to myself one day, I look the way I look. I am the way I am. I am my age. And she said, and I found it helped. Well, it helps me too, Bobbie, except I must say there are days when I get up and I say, I am the way I am, I look the way I look, I am my age, and it defeats me. I want to go back to bed and start all over again.
Well, anybody that has to be on the job at 7 o'clock in the morning, but actually you're there at 5, so you're really on the job at 5. I don't know, Barbara. I truly admire you. I don't know how you do it. But another thing in your book that I had to stop and take a second look at was your bit about President Nixon and the fact that he's so charming, and you say he's even sexy.
I have said that I think I will regret the day I ever said that. I said he was rather sexy. I qualified to save myself. Well, I'll tell you, I was trying to define charm and what it was that I found charming in other people, because then if you know that, you can perhaps learn from it. And I gave my list of charming people. I remember Bennett Cerf because he's so honestly curious, and Kitty Hart because Kitty Carlisle Hart because she puts herself out to be warm and to be interested and to laugh at your jokes and so on. And I said Richard Nixon because when I met him, he looked me right in the eye. He was much more attractive than I expected. He was tall and slim and sunburned. He made me feel very special. He was extremely helpful to me. He arranged for me to interview Prince Philip when no one else had been able to get him. And he treated me as a kind of interesting, nice female he wanted to know better. Well, if a man does this for you, it's charming. And if he's charming and also attractive, well, then he's rather sexy. So there, and that's it, and I'm stuck with it.
Barbara, you have referred several times on the Today Show to being misquoted in, I guess you're referring to the Life magazine story, right?
Well, I was very upset about this. I was on vacation this summer, and it really ruined my vacation. My husband has said, look, if you don't like the heat, stay out of the kitchen, the old Harry Truman story. But Life was doing a story on midi skirts, and they asked me my opinion on it. And at the time, it was the first time I'd worn a midi skirt, and my feeling was, look, they're okay. I don't dislike them. I've seen a lot of them, and some of them are rather good looking, but I also wear short skirts, and we shouldn't throw our old clothes away, and so on. And they quoted me as saying, like it or not, I'm seen by more women than any other woman in America, and when I wear a midi, that's it. Well, I would have had to be stupid, if not the most pompous, arrogant person to have said that. And when I called the girl up and said, I never said that, she said, no, she said, but I said to you, you're seen by more women, and like it or not, when you wear a midi skirt. And you said, well, yes. I said, then my quote should have been, well, yes. Bobbie, I think it did me a lot of harm, not because of the midi skirt or the mini skirt, so what, but because I think people thought, isn't she a ghastly person? And I will do anything I can to say, look, folks, I never said it. Hate me for other reasons, but not that.
Barbara, thank you very much for talking with us today. And
Thank
it's
you,
truly been a
Bobbie.
pleasure to have you back in
For
Texas.
me as well. Thank you.